Hello and welcome to Supreme Commander Fortnite's Forever. Just gonna do a short little video talking about how do you improve sort of generally and especially from watching replays and POV. So your own replays and POVs, I mean, not other people's. So you should watch your own replays. It's very informative. See probably all kinds of things you don't like in there, things you know you shouldn't do and stuff. So how do you actually learn from what you're looking at? Well, the first thing you can do, should do, is just watch the build order of you and your opponent and see which one is better. So it should be pretty obvious, generally, whether one's better or not. But there's different metrics to measure a build order. So we could measure by the speed of the transport if you're rushing a transport. And then we could measure a number of engineers on the transport, then eventually whether or not the person got got their island or their expansion that they're hoping to get with the transport. And so obviously it's a lot simpler to say how fast was the transport, but then you could have different factors involved like well, he didn't get enough build power in the transport, so he could have lost his could have got outbuilt maybe by his opponent, or maybe his engineers got bombed because he had no interceptor or whatever. But the basic thing is, did he get his island and how fast was the transport? So try and keep it simple. Then could have how many land factories do I have by X number of minutes, and how many does my opponent have on a normal land map scenario, like most maps really. How many land factories do I have producing tanks and stuff by this time? The more or less than the opponent, and that's a good metric to use. We could also have how much power do I have? Say if we're on some reclaim heavy map, the amount of power is a really good metric. So if we're on Via or the ditch, how much power you have is very important because you're mass limited. Basically, you're just limited by, or you're power limited. You have tons and tons of reclaims, so you're just power limited. So how much power you have is more important, or a more important factor than on other maps. Then what else do we have? Well, obviously expansion. How many mexes? How fast did I get my mexes? How fast did I get my half the map? That's another obviously excellent metric to use. And also you have to account for the fragility of the of that expansion. So maybe you had the fastest expansion you ever had, but you didn't protect any of the engineers, so if anyone was to make a unit versus you, then you would just probably lose all the engineers. So, careful of greed, obviously. To be careful of greed. So if you're greedy, it's gonna come back to you eventually. But yeah. So that's build orders, just use a few metrics depending on the map. They need a couple of metrics really, and you just change them for the map. So a transport rush map, how fast to transport, how many engineers, and then did I get the island? On a land map, how many factories do I have, and did I get all my mexes? Uh, yeah, so it's easy enough, easy enough. Build orders are easy. Then, so then we have, what else can we talk about in this short video? Well then, the main thing you're looking for is the fatal mistakes. Mistakes that you just cannot afford to make. Obviously, losing your ACU, suiciding your ACU is the main thing. You lose your ACU, you're dead, so you have to eliminate all the mistakes that result in your ACU dying. So you can make all the other kind of mistakes, and they're not fatal. So you have to eliminate the fatal ones first and foremost, obviously. Can't win the game unless you're still alive. So those mistakes are generally pretty easy to see as well. So my opponent went T2 air. I even scouted him go T2 air, and then I didn't react in any way. So I'm not referring to this game. I'm just saying in general this will happen. So I saw T2 air and didn't make any anti-air. That's one way. Obviously, another way is I just walked into my opponent's tanks. This is the most common way to suicide, obviously. Just walk into a group of tanks, you're like, oh, didn't know they were there. So then you have to see why did you do that? So maybe your opponent went T2 air and you didn't scout it. Then you say, well, you have to improve your scouting. You have to recognize that, oh, maybe I didn't see many units, many tanks, so then I should be looking out for the T2 air. And then I should spot it. And then once I spot it, then I have to react and build more interceptors, build more flak for my ACU so he doesn't get sniped. Then if you walk into your opponent's tanks, then maybe you're not building enough T1 radars, or you're not building enough land scouts or air scouts. So again, that's a scouting issue. Generally, the fatal mistake is the opponent did something I didn't even know was going to happen, and now I'm dead. So you have to be aware of the threats and then make sure that you're looking for them. Those are fatal errors, so you can spot them more easily because they're fatal. They have fatal consequences. Then there's other mistakes. So the main way to deal with fatal mistakes is just more intel. More intel, basically, and also awareness of why you need the intel. So you need to, I know if I'm versus an Aeon, then maybe I just get mercied at some point. So you have to be more aware then, in comparison to say if I'm against a UEF and he doesn't have this T2 snipe option for me. So that's, we'll just talk about fatal errors in this one. The next video, maybe I'll talk about the smaller errors, which are harder to spot, but then add up to cost you the game. So you have to, the smaller errors you have to deal with, you have to have better habits. So better small routines. So basically you react to things in a similar way in every game because the same things will happen. And you just have to generalize your response so that, for example, I lose air, so I build another air factory and the PGens to support it. So, yes, hopefully this helped. Go watch your own replays and spot the fatal errors. And I'll see you next time.